Hello there, and a very warm welcome to another video from Change, Tips and Tools. It's me again, the Brummie that hails from Birmingham, England. Today, I want to make you aware of the LAMBDA function. No, it's not a song. It's a genuine Excel function that gives you the ability to create custom functions in Excel. Now, I can remember going back 5 years, if I wanted to create a custom function in my Excel templates, I would have to dive into hours and hours of some pretty heavy Visual Basic in order to create these. But Office 365, we don't need to do this anymore, all because of the LAMBDA function. Its purpose is to convert lengthy, complicated formulas into user-friendly functions without the need for Visual Basic. Now, the function has two basic arguments. The first, you have the parameters. These are your inputs like data ranges or variables, and you can have up to 253 of these parameters. Second, you have the formula, i.e. how you want the LAMBDA function to calculate with the parameters as its input. Now, let's take a look at a simple demo of the LAMBDA function first to show you the basic principles. And then we will take a more complicated formula and turn it into a simple, reusable custom function that our users can use with ease in our Excel templates. And we will do this step by step. Let's do this. So here, first of all, for my simple example, I've got an invoice, some invoices for periods, January to October. I've got the gross value here, but it doesn't include the VAT. And the VAT here is going to be, so if we take the UK for example, it's 20% currently. Now, the formula is an easy one, so it would be equals, so open bracket that times my VAT. I'm going to make that an absolute, so therefore it. Close that bracket, and then I'm going to plus that value, which will then give me my value plus VAT. Simple. Right, so let's take that and let's make that a LAMBDA function. So what we've got is, if I take this and I type LAMBDA in front of it, like so, I'm going to create some parameters here. So the first piece is going to be in my LAMBDA function, my first parameter is going to be, I want the value. So I'm just going to put value like so, and then the next piece is going to be the actual VAT. So I'm going to put my VAT like so. Then I'm going to do a comma. So now I'm going to do the calculation part of the LAMBDA function. So what I'm going to do is replace these cell references with the actual parameters. So D5, that will be the value parameter. C1 will be my VAT reference, so my VAT. And D5 will be the value again. And I'll press return. Oops, I forgot to put the bracket on the end. So I should get a calc error there. Wonderful. So, and the reason why I'm getting this calc error, so let me just get rid of this for a second. It's basically I haven't told it what these values are for these parameters. So the way to test it is I'm going to do at the end of it, do an open bracket. So the first is going to be that value there. And the second, my VAT, is going to be that value there. And if I then close that bracket and hit return, there you go. It works just as it did before. And all I've got to do to turn that into a custom function is I'm going to take my lambda there and do control copy and escape. And I'm going to delete that there. I'm then going to go on my formulas ribbon. I'm going to go into the name manager. I'm going to do new range, new name. And I'm going to call this my tax. And in the refers to, I'm going to put copy and paste that lambda function we've just done there. It's going to be applicable to this workbook. If I want to use this in other templates, then I'd have to copy it to those templates, this named range. Now, you could put some commentary in here as well, just to, if it's a more complex type of function you're creating, you can put an explanation in the commentary here for your users. So if I click OK, so it's called my tax now. If I then go into here, and again we try and do it, so if I go equals, I'm doing my, see my tax is there. So the value is going to be all this here, I'll do comma, and then I'm going to take my tax, and you can see it's highlighting parameter I'm entering, and do close bracket and hit return, and there you go. And obviously Lambda can also operate in an overspill function, so I can do an overspill here as well, like it's done there. So there's a simplistic version of it. So let's try and take that now and do a more complex version. And obviously this is dynamic, so if I change this to 30%, like so, it changes and picks it up. So that's great. That shows you a simple way, or a simple demo. If we go back to our project selection template that we did within the capital budgeting video, in a previous video, and I'll put the link to that video in the description, is that we were looking at a 5-year period to work out the NPV, or the return on investment, the internal rate of return, and then a payback period. And whilst the NPV and the IRR are both functions within Excel, the payback period is not. And we had to come up with a formula here to create that, and I showed you how I built that formula step by step. But what if you sent this to your manager and your manager says, let's try and take a look at this based on a 10-year period? So let's look at that for a 10-year period. So I've got the same projects here over a 10-year accounting period. So again, I've got my discount rate, which is the cost of capital here. And then my NPV, again, NPV, open bracket. The rate is going to be the discount rate. I'll make that absolute because I want to copy it down by pressing the F4 key. And then the value here. In fact, what would help here is if I create some of the cash flows here, because you'll notice here I haven't got the cash flows. But again, not a problem. That's very easy to do. Is I'll highlight the 2 columns, then the column where I want the sum to be. I'm going to hold down the Alt key plus the equals key, and it automatically does it. And again, do it for the project 2, Alt, equals key, Alt, equals key. And then I'm just going to put the cum value in here. So that will be the first row will be my initial investment. The next row will be my previous cum plus the current cash benefit, net cash benefit, and return. Then I'm going to copy that down, and let's copy and paste that to our other 2 projects. Oop. Control copy, Control V, Control V to paste. Now we're ready to do our NPV calculations. So again, equals NPV, open bracket, there's my rate, F4 to make it an absolute reference, The value is going to be from year 1 onwards. Close the bracket, plus my initial investment, like so. I'm then going to copy, look at that, and then I'm going to take the IRR equals IRR, open bracket, and the values are going to be my net cash benefit from year 0 to year 10. And close that bracket. And there we go. So if I copy those to my other 2 projects, so now let's do the payback period. That means now I've got to amend this formula so it looks at a 10-year period, instead of 5. Now, the way that I'm going to do that is we're going to turn this complex formula into a lambda function. So here's a tip. So I'm not constantly jumping into this to look at the formula. I'm going to do equals, type formula. It's this FORMULATEXT function here. I'll select the cell with that formula in, close that bracket, and now it gives me in text what that formula is. So I can look at that as a reference. Brilliant. So that's one to remember. The FORMULATEXT function comes in really useful. And again, if I did it here, equals formula text, select that, close the bracket, copy that down, you can see what formulas are in these cells. Brilliant. Anyway, I digress. Let's look at I want to create some references here. So the first thing I'm going to do is that I need to create some parameters. So the lambda function, if you remember, if I type in, yeah, it has 2 arguments here. The parameter, which represents the data elements. So periods will be a data element, the net cash benefit and the cum benefit will be data elements. And then there's the actual calculation, how it's calculated. Those are the 2 arguments that I need to do. So let me just escape out of that. So what I'm going to do, just to help myself, is I'm going to say, right, F in this formula here, F refers to the cum benefits. So that's going to be my first data parameter. So if I do F equals as a reference, and I'm going to call it cum benefit, like so. You can't call it an existing function, and you can't call it an existing name range because it will confuse Excel when you're creating your parameter names. Just to bear that in mind. And then the next one's going to be B. So that is my counting periods. So again, B equals, and you don't need to do this, I'm just doing it so it's easy for me to refer to it when I'm building the lambda function for a slightly more complex formula here. And then the last one, the third one, which is, if you go along this, you can see these data elements are reused all through the formula, except for this one here, which is E5 to E10, which is referring to the net cash benefit. So again, I'm going to type E equals net benefit, like so, and hit return. Right, so I've now got that as a reference. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I am going to copy the format. So on the home ribbon, do the format painter and just put that there so we can see the same format as here. I'm also going to align it to the left so we can just see what's going on here and compare them easily. Now, I'm going to go into this where I've got the formula, and I'm going to copy that formula. So all the way, and I'm going to copy it, Control, copy, and then escape. And then I'm going to start typing the lambda function. So I'm going to go equals lambda. So I'm going to put my parameters in. So the first one is going to be cum benefit, which is for the F data, which is my cum benefits. And then I'm going to do comma. My next one is going to be the accounting period, which is going to be B, comma. And then the next one is going to be for E, which is net benefit. So those are my parameters. Now I've got those, I'm then going to paste in that formula I've just I copied. So paste that in. Then I'm going to do a close bracket just to close off the lambda function. Then what I'm going to do in here is where I've now got these ranges here, I'm going to replace them with the respective parameter. So the first one I'm coming to is F, which if you look is going to be cum benefit. So if I take the F1, highlight it, start typing cum, there it is, cum benefit. Let's do all the F's. There's F again. Cum benefit, and then we've got F there. Cum benefit, and then we've got F again here. Final one. So I'll do cum benefit. So that's all the F ranges that refer to this data element. The next one we're going to do is B, and B is the accounting period, i.e. this set of data. So I'm going to replace all that. So take the first one, so go along, find B, and then I'm going to do ACC, so there's accounting period, select it, find the next B, just go along and replace these values. The parameter we've created. And got two more, almost done. And then last one. And then finally we've got the data range for E, which is the net benefits here. And obviously that's going to be this parameter here, net benefits. So I'm going to highlight that. And type net, and there's net benefit here, select that, then I'm going to hit return. I should get calc. Great. So again, if you remember last time, we just need to test the data element. So at the end of the lambda formula, I'm just going to copy this for a second. I'm going to copy that, control copy, just for when I put it in the name range. So I'm going to do an open bracket. So the first range that we've got is going to be the cum benefit. So let's take that and do a comma. The next one will be the accounting period, so which is this. Select that, do a comma, and then finally the last is the net benefit. So let's take that and then close the bracket. Let's see if it works. Yes, we get exactly the same answer here. So we now know that works. So if I then go into my name manager, and I go formulas, name manager, and do new, and let's call this my payback period. And then in there, that lambda function I just copied, do Control V, paste it in and do OK. And there we go. We have that new function created. So now when I go into this, instead of trying to amend this complex formula here, is as a user, I can go into it and go equals there's my payback period. So my first is going to be my cum benefit, which is this one. So if I select that, my next argument is going to be the accounting period, and then comma, and then my net benefit, which is going to be this column, like so. If I close the bracket, hit return, it's calculated, and then I can just take that, copy it, like so. And there you go. Just do a almost for text. there's the, and if I just copy that, there are my formulas for calculating my NPV, which is an inbuilt function, the IRR, which is an inbuilt function, and there's a new function, payback period calculation, which again makes it a lot easier for our users to use these within our templates. The LAMBDA function, one to remember. I hope you found this video helpful and informative, and if you did, please click the like, subscribe and the notifications button for future content. I wish you a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye bye now.